All right, so for today's tips, I want to talk for just a minute about the different ways that the LSAT is going to give you some different conditional statements. And we're going to talk about the three major ones. These are the three most common wordings that they're going to use. And those are the word if, the phrase only if, and then the word unless. Now, each of them operates just a little bit differently, so let's talk about each of those in turn. So let's start with the word if. The easiest way to translate if is that whatever directly follows the word if is always the trigger portion of an if-then statement. It's the if portion. And most people are going to do this right. The one situation where sometimes people will get tripped up is when they get an if in the middle of the sentence. And so you can see that we've got these two statements. If David keeps filling the water cooler with live squid, he will get fired. Now we could also say that same thing, but switch around the clauses and say David will get fired if he keeps filling the water cooler with live squid. But still, all we have to do is find the if, and then whatever is directly after that is what's going to be the trigger condition, the antecedent, or the if portion. And so if we were diagramming that up, we would say something like, if squid, then fired. And so squid will tell us fired. Now remember, you don't know that getting fired means that David kept putting squid in the water cooler. There could be lots of other reasons why David is getting fired. So squid would lead to fired in either of those cases. Now with our second phrase, only if, Nacho will sing only if Ramesses is feeling festive, or only if Ramesses is feeling festive will Nacho sing. And again, those are the same thing. All we're doing is switching around the placement of the word only if, but no matter where that only if occurs, whatever comes directly after that is going to be the then portion of the if then. It's the necessary condition, it's the consequent, you can say it a lot of ways, but it's the second part. And so what that's going to say is if sing, then festive. And that wouldn't matter whether we were doing the top sentence or the bottom, they're still saying the same thing. Now in our third example, we have the phrase, you can't tell me nothing unless you have a tractor. And with unless, this one is a little bit tricky, but you can either translate unless as the phrase, if not, but most of the time I find it easiest to simply think about it this way. With the word unless, you can choose either of the two parts. So you could either choose have a tractor or can't tell me nothing. And whichever part you choose, you can simply negate that, meaning you switch it from positive to negative. So if it started negative, you turn it to positive, and if it's positive, you turn it to negative. Now the vast majority of instances on the LSAT where they use the word unless, one of the terms is going to be negative anyway. So in this case, you can't tell me nothing. So what that would say is, if you can tell me something, or if you can tell me nothing, whichever way you want to translate it, so if tell, then tractor. And you could also do it the other way, and this would simply be the contrapositive. That would mean if you don't have a tractor, then you can't tell. And really you can do this either way. It's really, these two are just contrapositives of each other, and we'll spend a little bit of time later talking about contrapositives, but the idea is you're just going to negate or change the sign on whichever one you decide to have be the first thing, or the if portion, and then you switch it from positive to negative. So that's how we're going to deal with if, only if, and unless. So if you have questions or comments, you can put those below, and I'm happy to answer them.